You like adventure.
Do you get an adrenaline rush from reading textbooks?
What would you do if you could go back in time?
What would you see?
Where would you go?
The Crusades! Ancient Greece? Would you witness the birth of Jesus?
Or sail the seven seas?
What food would you eat?
How would you survive?
It's bigger than we've imagined!
Join us as we travel back in time.
Before the days of 21st century technology.
Journey with us to the British Columbia of the 1920s.
Experience the hardships!
The toil!
The excitement!
The excitement! This is more than history.
This is more than history.
It's your history.
It's your history.
So we are currently on our way to the Delta Museum and Archives to learn more about the pioneering and farming history of British Columbia, more specifically in Ladner. Ladner, in case you don't know, is a town, part of the municipality of Delta, south of Vancouver, which is famous for its two main industries, farming and fishing. So hopefully we're going to find a lot of good information. I'm excited. Are you excited? Let's go! Woo! Okay, so I'm at the Delta Archives and Museum in Ladner, BC. Inside the museum, I had the unique opportunity to see some real artifacts from back in the early 20th century. I was able to see a sewing machine that the women of the house would have had to use to make the clothes for not only herself and her children, but her husband as well. I also got to see a downsized model of what the downtown core of the boardwalk would look like in Ladner in the late 19th century and the early 20th century. I was also able to learn about the family that Ladner is named after. The Ladner brothers came to Canada from Cornwall in the mid-1850s. In around 1868, they came to the Delta area and both bought 160 acres each worth of farmland. I was able to take a very unique tour of what a main street would look like back 100 to 120 years ago. I see here I got the opportunity to look at the general store. You see all the goods in the store that we're able to buy, trade, and sell. I was able to visit an optometrist's office and see the equipment that they use. A lot of this equipment is actually very similar to the equipment that is used today to check your eyes. Port Guichon was a very important port family that is still very prominent in Ladner today. Ladner's Landing was the place where William Ladner had his farm and his property. The BC Telephone Company Limited had their company in Ladner. We get to see one of their switchboards here. Very interesting to see how they used to make phone calls back before the days of instant connections. And here we see all the blacksmith equipment and the anvils that he would have had to use on a daily basis for horses originally, but then later for car maintenance and repairs. And here we see the saddle shop. We have all the saddles and reins for sale. Very interesting lifestyle, a lifestyle that I wish that I could experience first class. I mean, it would be a much more challenging lifestyle, but I think a much more interesting one. And of course the bakery, always coming up with some yummy goods. I wish I could have bought some, but unfortunately Baker wasn't in the office at the time. I was also able to visit the Ladner jail.
Today, I'm going to Burnaby Village Museum, where I'll take a glance into the past of early pioneers' lives in early British Columbia. Let's go take a look. example of a music store that could be found in early British Columbia. These stores were widespread, seeing how music was such a wide source of entertainment used all over Canada. Pianos such as these were also very popular. They were programmed to move on their own and play their own songs. Phonographs such as these could be brought home to any house and were used as a form of music. It was very advanced for the time period. Various musical instruments that can still be played up to this day. Besides music, another up-and-coming source of popular entertainment was the movies. Here we see a theater, a classic example of early British Columbia.
Bye-bye, blackbird. No one here can love or understand me. Oh, what hard luck stories.
This is the example of a classic early church.
Make my bed and light the light. I'll be home late tonight. Blackbird, bye.
Here's a memorial dedicated to people that died and fought in World War I. Before the rise of cars, the train was the most popular and widely used source of wide transportation. This is an example of an early tram car. This particular tram traveled from New Westminster all the way into Vancouver. The typewriter, typical to an example shown here, was widely used across the nation. I also visited the early version of the Royal Bank of Canada. This particular Mackay, BC branch came from a small town in Squamish. Here we can see the various different types of farming equipment that were used before the time of tractors. Back in early Surrey and Burnaby pioneer life, farming competitions were very popular. This is an example of a trophy that was given to the winner of a poultry competition. In early British Columbia, the Chinese population was very large. This was mainly due to the gold rush and call for workers on the CPR. After their jobs were done, usually very dangerous ones at that, they would have to find other kinds of jobs, and whenever they needed medicine, they would come to medicine stores like these, this one being a Chinese medicine store. Various types of herbs and healing ingredients that were typical of the time period.